The waves of Alola rolled softly against the golden shore, sunlight spilling through the clouds like melted honey. Palm trees swayed in rhythm with the ocean's breath, Wingull cried overhead, and the laughter of Pokémon echoed from the Pokémon school nestled near Hau'oli City. It was paradise, warm, living, perfect. At least that's what everyone believed. But beneath that paradise, something watched. In the shaded edges of the schoolyard, hidden where light struggled to reach, a trembling figure lingered. Its ragged disguise, stitched together to mimic Pikachu's cheery shape, shifted faintly in the breeze. Beneath the cloth, eyes gleamed with sorrow and envy. Mimikyu. Every day it lingered there, unseen, listening to the sound of laughter that wasn't meant for it. It watched the boy, the human with the red cap and bright boundless energy, training, eating, and playing alongside his partner, Ash Ketchum, and beside him, always at his side, was Pikachu. The sunlight seemed to love them. Even the world seemed to lean toward their laughter. Mimikyu's heart, if such a thing could still be called that, ached with something between longing and fury. Beneath the rag's painted smile, its real form twitched and convulsed like something restrained by grief. It didn't want to hate that bond. It just wanted to be part of it, to be seen, held, loved. But love never came for ghosts, so it watched and waited. Each night it would whisper the same hopeless wish to the empty sky. If I could just be him, he'd smile at me too. The wish became a prayer. The prayer became an obsession. And one night, under a sky lit by the eerie shimmer of ultra wormholes, the air itself seemed to whisper back. Mimikyu followed the faint thread of moonlight to Professor Kukui's home. Through the window, it saw them both, Ash sleeping soundly, his face soft and innocent in the glow, and Pikachu curled beside him, fur gleaming faintly like spun gold. Mimikyu crept closer, every step slower than the last. The moonlight flickered on its crude disguise. It reached out, trembling. If I could be him, he'd never look away again. Its claw brushed Pikachu's tail. For a second, a spark of electricity jolted its disguise, but then faded, swallowed by something deeper. Mimikyu began to hum under its breath, a sound not meant for the living. It spoke a curse it had learned from a drifting Delmas, ancient words that traded presence for memory. The air shimmered, the shadows thickened, the world twisted in on itself like a dying flame. When the morning light poured into Kukui's home, it seemed a little dimmer than usual. The air carried a faint chill, though the sun was bright. Ash stirred, yawning, stretching as always. "Mornin', buddy." The small shape beside him blinked, its ragged cloth rustling. "Mimi," Ash blinked in surprise. "Mimikyu, what are you doing here?" He looked around for Pikachu, but the bed was empty. No yellow fur, no spark marks, no trail of tiny paw prints. For a moment, something in his chest twisted, a sense of loss, of something just out of reach. But when he tried to grasp it, the memory slipped away. Then, like a puzzle filling itself in, his mind changed the picture. "Oh right," he said, smiling faintly. "You're my partner, Mimikyu. What was I thinking?" The ragged Pokémon hopped into his arms, and the illusion settled into place. From afar, Top Coco hovered on the wind, its eyes glowing faintly gold. It saw what mortals could not, the distortion curling through Ash's soul like a thread of darkness. The Guardian's wings sparked in protest, but the law of the gods forbade interference. A memory had been rewritten, a bond erased, and the boy who once carried lightning in his heart began a new story, one written in shadow. At first, the world seemed normal. The school still bustled with laughter, sunlight still fell warm across the grass, yet something invisible trembled in the air. When Ash arrived that morning, everyone noticed the change before they could explain it. Lily blinked in confusion. "Ash, where's Pikachu?" "What do you mean?" he said brightly, lifting Mimikyu into the air. "He's right here." The cloth Pokémon waved its stitched paw, cheerful as ever. "But that's not." Lily's voice faltered, her chest tightened as she spoke. Images of Pikachu flashed in her mind, tiny sparks, laughter, a yellow blur leaping into Ash's arms. But as quickly as they came, they dissolved. Sophocles rubbed his eyes. "Didn't you used to have?" His words trailed off. The fog in his head grew thick, erasing what he meant to say. "Guess my memory's playing tricks. You've always had Mimikyu, right?" Ash grinned. "Of course I have." And just like that, the lie became reality. Only Professor Kukui noticed the dissonance, that silent wrongness in the air. That evening, he watched Ash and Mimikyu from the veranda, the ocean whispering below. "Ash," he said slowly, "you sure you don't remember a Pikachu?" Ash frowned, genuinely puzzled. "Professor, what are you talking about? Mimikyu's been with me since the beginning." Kukui's chest tightened. The world seemed to push back when he tried to correct him. like reality itself wanted him to forget. He forced a smile. Right, Mimikyu, of course. But that night, when the wind howled through Hau'oli's streets, Kukui swore he heard faint crying carried on it, soft, electric sobs that faded into silence. Days became weeks. The paradise of Alola never lost its color, but for Ash, something inside it had. He still laughed, but it didn't sound the same. He still trained, but his joy felt mechanical. The boy who once burned with boundless curiosity now moved like a shadow of himself. Mimikyu, Shadow Claw. The ghost obeyed instantly, its spectral claws tearing through a boulder. Again, Ash barked. His tone was sharper now, his patience thinner. Each time Mimikyu pleased him, it felt a flicker of warmth, but that warmth quickly turned cold. Ash had stopped eating lunch with the others. He'd stopped calling out greetings to random Pokémon. The world had narrowed to training, battling, and perfecting his bond with Mimikyu. He told himself it was dedication. But deep down, something else had taken root, an emptiness so vast it ached. Even Mimikyu could feel it. Late at night, when Ash slept, the ghost would sit by the window, watching his face in the moonlight. It would lift its disguise slightly, exposing its true form, a dark, trembling mass, and whisper, "Sorry." But the apology never reached him. Ash began catching new Pokémon, but the ones drawn to him were strange, cold, haunted, lonely creatures. A Delmice from the ocean's floor, a Palossand that fed on shadows, even a Shiinotic whose glow felt more sorrowful than gentle. Kukui watched from a distance, worry deepening every day. The boy's kindness was slipping away, replaced by something obsessive. One evening, unable to bear it, he climbed the sacred steps of Tapu Koko's shrine. The torches flickered blue as he spoke. "Something's wrong with him. You can feel it too, can't you?" Lightning flashed in response. And then came the vision, brief but blinding. Pikachu, trapped in a white void, pounding helplessly against invisible walls. His cries echoed, unheard, and across the divide, a dark shape wore his smile like a mask. Kukui staggered back. By the gods! Tapu Koko's voice thundered in his head, balance broken, truth stolen, memory twisted. He looked toward the horizon where Ash trained beneath the setting sun, Mimikyu by his side. "Then I'll set it right. I swear it." Ash continued to climb Alola's ranks. He cleared trial after trial, moving faster than anyone expected, but his victories felt hollow. Days turned into nights in those ruins. When he finally found the crystal, the air itself seemed to hold its breath. The gem pulsed faintly between his fingers, like a heartbeat. Mimikyu trembled, its disguise fluttering. Within the crystal's reflection, it saw something. Pikachu's face, eyes filled with sorrow. Then, like a stone dropped in water, the image vanished. Ash smiled faintly. "This is it, our bond." Mimikyu felt joy and despair, because in that moment, the curse's roots dug even deeper. The days leading up to the first ever Alola League Championship were filled with excitement. Hau'oli City became a storm of banners, trainers, and shining Z-rings glimmering under the tropical sun. Every island sent their strongest. Kahunas, trial-goers, veterans, and prodigies, each ready to prove themselves before the world. To the crowd, it was a celebration. To Ash, it was an ending. He stood in the locker room before the semifinals, silent while Mimikyu adjusted its disguise beside him. The dim light flickered, casting their shadows long against the tiled floor. Every other trainer filled the hall with chatter, laughter, and dreams of victory. But Ash said nothing. His cap hung low, his eyes dark. The air around him carried that same faint static Professor Kukui had come to dread, the quiet hum of a broken bond still bleeding energy into the world. He tied his gloves tighter. "We're almost there," he murmured. Mimikyu nodded softly. "Mimi," its voice trembled, uncertain, but Ash didn't notice. His focus was locked somewhere beyond the moment, on the stage, the battle, the proof that all of this meant something. Winning had become the only language he still understood. Outside, the roar of the crowd thundered like the ocean. "Ash! Ash! Ash!" He stepped into the light. The first battles passed like storms. Against Hau's Decidueye, Ash's Beware charged through arrows of spirit energy like a rampaging titan. Against Gladion's Lycanroc, his Delmas wrapped chains of spectral energy, dragging the wolf into the ground. Every match ended the same way, fast, merciless, decisive. There was no hesitation in Ash's commands, no joy either. Each victory felt clinical, rehearsed. Commentators whispered about his strange new style, a trainer reborn, they said. But those who knew the old Ash saw something different. When Mimikyu took the field, the stadium always grew quiet. There was something unnatural about it. Even behind its Pikachu-shaped cloth, the air seemed to warp. Pokémon on the sidelines shivered when it passed. Pikachu fans in the crowd whispered uneasily, clutching their plush toys. And every time Ash raised his arm to call a move, his Z-ring glowed with a color that wasn't any normal element. It was neither lightning nor fairy nor ghost, but something caught between all three, like the aura of a memory refusing to die. That night, before the finals, Ash sat alone on the veranda of his dorm. The city lights shimmered below like scattered fireflies. He should have been celebrating, but instead, he felt a hollow ache in his chest. He turned to Mimikyu, who sat beside him, disguise fluttering in the sea breeze. "Tomorrow's it," he said quietly. "The championship. After this, everyone will know we're the strongest in Alola." Mimikyu tilted its head, silent. Its shadow moved faintly on its own, slower, sadder. It could feel Ash's loneliness, the ache that had grown since the curse began. Every victory he'd won, every smile he'd forced, all built on something stolen. Mimikyu's claws clenched. "I wanted him to be happy. Why does he look so empty?" Ash leaned back against the railing, eyes distant. "You know, sometimes I feel like something's missing, like there's someone I'm supposed to remember." His voice cracked slightly. Mimikyu froze. "I dream about lightning sometimes," Ash continued. "About warmth. Someone calling my name." He laughed weakly. "Weird, right?" Mimikyu couldn't bear to answer. Inside its disguise, its real face twisted in pain. The curse was strong, but cracks were forming. Ash's heart still remembered what his mind could not. And far above, in the clouds, Tapu Koko's light flickered faintly, watching, waiting. The next morning, the championship field glistened like polished glass beneath the rising sun. The air buzzed with expectation. All of Alola had gathered to witness history. "Ash Ketchum of Pallet Town," announced the referee, versus Professor Kukui. The crowd erupted. Kukui stood tall across the field, his lab coat billowing behind him. But his expression wasn't excitement. It was grief disguised as resolve. He had spent sleepless nights searching the ancient texts Tapu Koko had revealed, learning the truth of the curse that bound Ash's soul to Mimikyu's. This battle wasn't for victory. It was for salvation. Ash smirked faintly. "Didn't think you'd step in yourself, Professor." Kukui smiled sadly. "Someone has to remind you what you've forgotten, Ash." The boy tilted his head. "You keep saying weird stuff like that. You okay?" "I will be," Kukui said, "once you see the truth." The signal dropped. "Incineroar, I choose you." The massive fire type roared, flames blazing like molten metal. Across the field, Ash released Beware, who lumbered forward with a low growl. "Incineroar, Darkest Lariat." "Beware, hold it!" The two titans clashed, shockwaves rippling through the stadium. The match unfolded like an earthquake, pure, raw power. Beware took the first round, barely standing as Incineroar fell. Ash called it back, expression cold. Kukui watched the boy's movements carefully. Every command was sharp, mechanical. There was no warmth, no spark of the trainer who once encouraged his Pokémon mid-battle. "He's fading," Kukui realized. "The curse is almost complete." He sent out Braviary next, wings slicing through the air. Ash countered with Delmice, chains cracking like thunder. They fought viciously, wind and steel colliding, but Braviary's final brave bird cut through the anchor's heart, ending it, 1-for-1. As the battles continued, the tension thickened. The crowd cheered, unaware that every move was part of a greater struggle, not just between trainer and trainer, but between light and shadow. At last, it came to the final match. Kukui drew his hand up. "Tapu Koko, guardian of Alola, I call upon you." The guardian deity burst into existence in a storm of lightning and divine fury. The sky darkened, the air split with thunder. Ash smirked faintly. "Guess it's time, huh? Let's show them our bond, Mimikyu." The crowd gasped as the little ragged Pokémon floated to center stage, its disguise fluttering. Even through the cloth, they could feel something ancient, something wrong. Tapu Koko's cry shook the heavens. "You should not exist." Electric light arcs through the air, dancing around Ash's feet. The god could feel the wound in the world, the distortion caused by Mimikyu's wish, and it would end it. Ash pointed forward, determination burning through the fog of confusion. "Let's go! Use Shadow Sneak! Mimi!" A wave of darkness surged across the field, slamming into Tapu Koko. The deity retaliated instantly, lightning striking down in blinding arcs. Each hit shook the stands, sending sparks flying. "Mimikyu Shadow Claw!" Tapu Koko countered with dazzling gleam. Light and darkness collided, tearing through the field. The audience couldn't see anything but flashes. Ash's silhouette, Mimikyu's jagged movements, and lightning painting their figures like ghosts. Tapu Koko nodded once. Sparks danced across its wings. "Then let's show him the light that Alola stands for." The crowd erupted, but the roar sounded distant to Ash. His heartbeat thundered in his ears, and every breath felt heavy. "Mimikyu," he said softly, "no more holding back." The ragged Pokémon trembled, almost hesitating. It turned toward Ash, as if searching for reassurance. "You're all I need," he whispered. "You've always been there." Those words, simple, honest, cut through Mimikyu's hollow heart. Its disguise quivered, a tear forming where fabric met shadow. Then it screamed. The air split as ghostly energy surged forth, slamming into the ground. The field warped and twisted, half ghostly ruins, half glowing electric temple. Shadows stretched across one side, thunder crackled across the other. "Let's begin," Kukui roared. "Tapu Koko, Thunderbolt!" A surge of electricity exploded toward Mimikyu, blinding and pure. But before impact, Mimikyu's shadow peeled off the ground, forming a shield that swallowed the lightning whole. "Shadow sneak!" Ash commanded. Mimikyu vanished. For a heartbeat, nothing. Then, impact. Tapu Koko staggered as dark claws raked across its glowing shell. But the Guardian was no ordinary foe. Its body flared, wings unfolding with divine grace. Lightning danced down its arms as it retaliated with Brave Bird, crashing forward like a comet. The blow struck true. Mimikyu tumbled backward, its disguise cracking. For a moment, the fake Pikachu head twisted at an impossible angle before snapping back upright. The crowd gasped. Even Kui looked unsettled. Ash clenched his fists. "Get up!" Mimikyu twitched, then rose again, silent, shaking. Kukui's voice echoed, hoarse with emotion. "Ash, look at it! Look what this battle's doing! You're hurting it!" Ash's eyes burned. "I'm fighting for it. This is what we do." "You're fighting with hate, not heart," Kukui snapped. For a moment, the boy's resolve faltered. A memory, just a flicker, passed behind his eyes. Laughter, a spark, a yellow tail gleaming in the sun. "Pika!" Then it was gone. Mimikyu lunged forward again, clawing, crying out in desperate rage. Tapu Koko met it head-on. The two forces collided, light against shadow, thunder against sorrow, and the ground split open from the impact. Sparks and black smoke filled the air, mixing into a storm neither natural nor divine. From the stands, Lily covered her mouth, tears streaming. "Please stop." But they didn't. They couldn't. Tapu Koko ascended, calling upon its divine power. A glowing sigil formed beneath it, the mark of the Guardian of Alola. A colossal figure of pure lightning began to form, its shape towering above the stadium like a god of judgment. Ash's hand shot to his Z-ring. "Fine, if this is what it takes, then let's snuggle forever." The crystal pulsed with ghostly pink light. Mimikyu spun, its energy twisting into a nightmarish embrace. Shadows reached outward, wrapping around the colossal electric titan. For one terrible instant, the two attacks collided, divine light against cursed love. Then came the explosion. Light consumed everything, screams, static, the smell of ozone and ash. When the glare faded, Ash was on his knees, gasping. All around him, the world felt distant, muted, almost dreamlike. And then, faintly, he heard it. "Pika, P." His head snapped up. What was that? Mimikyu froze mid-attack. The fabric of its disguise rippled like water, distorting. The curse was unraveling. Kukui's voice cut through the ringing silence. "You had a Pikachu once. He was your partner, your heart. Mimikyu stole his place." Ash staggered. That's not true. But the memories came anyway. Pikachu by his side, through snow, storms, laughter, pain. Their first meeting, their fights, their friendship. 1,000 moments he should have remembered. He fell to the ground, clutching his head as tears burst from his eyes. No, I forgot him?" The disguise tore apart as Mimikyu screamed, a sound so sorrowful that even Tapu Koko lowered its gaze. The black shadow beneath twisted and convulsed, its true form flickering between the shapes of Pikachu and the lonely ghost beneath. "Mimi. Wanted. Love," it whispered, voice breaking. Ash looked up at it, sobbing. "You didn't need to take him. You could have been my friend." The curse shattered with a thunderous crack. Tapu Koko's final bolt descended, purging the battlefield in holy light. When it cleared, only Ash remained kneeling in the center, the tattered disguise of Mimikyu resting in his lap. The stadium was silent. The only sound was the faint whisper of rain beginning to fall, gentle, cleansing, sorrowful. Ash stared at the disguise in his hands. The painted smile stared back, empty and hollow. He traced its ragged edges with trembling fingers. "I didn't mean to hurt you." Kukui approached slowly, the smell of ozone and scorched stone heavy in the air. "Ash, it wasn't your fault." Ash didn't look up. "Wasn't it? I trained with it, trusted it, believed everything, and never once did I stop to ask why something felt wrong." Lightning flashed above. Tapu Koko hovered nearby, its light dimmer now, watching in silence. Kukui knelt beside him. "You were cursed, Ash. That thing, it changed your memories. It used your heart because it wanted what you give so easily." Ash's voice was a whisper. Love, Kukui nodded. Exactly. Ash's hand clenched around the disguise. Then why do I feel like I failed it anyway? No one answered. The rain thickened, streaking down the ruins of the battlefield. In the stands, the others watched in mourning. Lily held Snowy close. Kiawe stood rigid, fists trembling. Even Rotom Dex was silent, its screen dark. The cheerful paradise of Alola felt dim, like the sun itself had turned away. Kukui finally placed a hand on Ash's shoulder. Come with me. We'll find a way to bring balance back. Maybe Tapu Koko can. No. Ash interrupted, rising to his feet. His voice was raw but steady. You can't fix this. I can't stay here pretending things are fine. He lifted his gaze toward the horizon, where the clouds split to reveal the full moon, a perfect pale eye in the sky. Every memory here's twisted, he said. Every friendship, every victory. They're not mine. They belong to someone who wasn't real. Ash, please, Kukui reached out. Don't do something you can't take back. Ash turned to him with tears streaking his face. I already did. And then the air changed. A pulse of lunar energy rolled across the sky, soft and luminous. A tear opened in the heavens, silvery light spilling through like water. From within emerged Lunala, wings wide, eyes glowing like twin galaxies. The moon Pokémon descended silently, its presence neither comforting nor frightening, simply inevitable. Ash took a step forward, awestruck. You heard me, didn't you? Lunala's cry answered, echoing in his mind. It wasn't words, but Ash felt the meaning all the same. You are lost, but you can seek. Kukui stepped in front of him. Ash, don't. You don't know where that leads. Maybe not, Ash said softly, but at least it's real. Lightning flashed again. Tapu Koko appeared beside Kukui, wings sparking in protest, but it didn't strike. It only watched. Ash took another step. Tell everyone I'm sorry, for forgetting, for letting it get this far. Kukui's hand hovered helplessly. Ash! But the boy didn't stop. Lunala lowered itself, its wings folding protectively. Ash climbed onto its back, the disguise of Mimikyu clutched tightly in his arms. Goodbye, Professor. The words barely reached Kukui's ears before Lunala lifted into the sky, soaring through the rift. The portal shimmered, reality bending, colors twisting into streaks of violet and white. Then silence. The portal closed. Kukui sank to his knees, staring up at the empty sky. Goodbye, kid, he whispered, voice breaking. May you find what you lost. Years passed. Alola healed, slowly, like an island after a storm. The stadium was rebuilt, the people moved on, and the legend of Ash Ketchum faded into myth. Children whispered his name during full moons, calling him the trainer who vanished between worlds. But some still remembered. Professor Kukui, now older and grayer, still worked late in his office overlooking the sea. On his desk sat a small lightning bolt charm, golden, faintly scorched. Sometimes, when storms rolled over Melemele Island, the charm sparked with golden light. He always smiled when it did. Still watching, aren't you? He'd whisper. And sometimes, only sometimes, he'd swear he heard a faint Pika-Pai in the thunder. Across the endless reaches of the cosmos, beyond ultraspace and the worlds between, Ash journeyed. Lunala carried him through realms of light and shadow, places where memories were alive and stars whispered secrets. He wasn't sure how much time passed, days, years, or eternity, but one thing remained constant. Beside him, in the glow of Lunala's wings, floated a faint, translucent shape, a small ghost wrapped in tattered cloth. Mimi, it whispered. Ash smiled sadly. You're still with me. Mimikyu nodded weakly, its spirit flickering. It no longer sought to deceive. It only wanted forgiveness and perhaps a chance to see the real Pikachu again someday. They drifted between worlds together, two lost souls bound by love, guilt, and memory. Sometimes Ash would dream of his old friend, and in those dreams, Pikachu would smile, not in anger, but in understanding. One night, as they passed through a sea of stars, Ash looked up at Lunala. Do you think I'll ever see him again? Lunala's voice echoed softly through his mind. Every bond leaves a light. Even in the darkest night, it waits to be found. Ash gazed ahead, where a small golden spark appeared in the distance, faint but growing brighter. He tightened his grip on Mimikyu's disguise and whispered, Then let's find him. And somewhere, far away, back in the world he left behind, a thunderstorm rolled over Alola. A single bolt struck the ocean, lighting the waves with gold. For an instant, the shape of Pikachu appeared in the reflection, smiling. End.